way. Do you think it's important for designers to be angry?
Angry? Absolutely. Because we are here to change the world. I absolutely believe in that. But also at the same time, what needs to be complemented with anger is ability to go beyond silos. And if I can take this chance...
Go beyond silos.
Go beyond silos. Because if you want to retain in your expertise and don't want to look sideways, it's going to be tough for you.
Mahesh, welcome to ZEUX. Thrilled to have you here. One, because I've known you for almost 20 years.
Yes, but we will not tell anyone that we are that old.
We will have to go into a little bit of the history. Maybe we'll leave out some of the traumatic episodes. But I would love for us to kind of relive that whole journey, because I think that's relevant to what we're going to talk about today. The other reason I'm really looking forward to this conversation is because I think there's a lot of talk of convergence today in the digital landscape between marketing, UX, branding. But there are few people I know who actually work at those crossroads. You know, the first person that came to my mind was you. And so I'm really interested to know your take on that. But before I dive into that, I would love for you to talk us through your evolution as a designer, marketing strategist, branding person, that whole journey that from when I saw you first. Can you just kind of walk us through that?
When I talk about myself, I kind of say that, you know, I'm an animal from an era when 486 computers were the thing. And for us, 256 MB RAM was the big thing. Like we vowed to work for it. And of course, today we carry 16 GBs in our pocket. So that has essentially been my journey, if I can put it in a nutshell. But going all the way back when I was a fresh design graduate.
Where did you graduate from?
I graduated from Sir JJ Institute of Applied Arts.
From JJ, right.
And of course, like at that point in time, nobody had even heard about digital media. Typesetting was the trend. And I think that was something which was for us the first liberation from digital media, because you didn't have to...
cutting edge.
Yeah, you didn't have to write 12-point copy with your hand. You know, you could get it printed. Computers were very new at that point in time. While everybody from my institute and my batch progressed towards advertising, which was a natural career flow at that point in time, I was thinking of doing something new, though I didn't know what new that is going to be. That is when I heard about an organization called Tata Interactive System, where at that point in time they were trying to do a lot of stuff with using computers as a medium, not as an enabler.
Got it.
That was a big shift for me, because I felt that that was kind of liberating from design perspective, because you didn't have to worry about sizes, you didn't have to worry about representation, plus things could move. Plus, you know, so it was more about making things more immersive. And that's what my fascination earlier with digital media was. Like the learning curve was humongous, because we started, as I said, with 486 computers. We were mainly doing CD-ROMs, and then within 3 years, internet had hit the world. Of course, it made funny sound when you were logging into the modem. But that is when I got introduced to World Wide Web. And I couldn't help myself but to understand how powerful this medium is. At that point in time, we never thought how it's going to be, how it's going to evolve, but there was something really, really new. Something which was like, you click something, you go somewhere. It really liberated you from reading a book, finding a reference, going and finding another book, all those experiences. And I happened to do first generation ICICI Bank website. I happened to do
so we have you to blame for that.
Absolutely. I really thought that World Wide Web is the next wave. And I moved to Channel V at that time, which was trying to actually use internet as a subset of a television channel. Not a marketing support, not a brochureware, but really use internet
as a truly legit alternate channel.
Absolutely. And it became such an integral part of the new brand strategy for Channel V.
So your role at Channel V was what?
So I came in as a creative director for the entire vindia.com, as it was called that point in time. And of course, to .com, we were like, started from Channel V's guest house, 4 programmers, 1 designer, and 1 CTO, and 1 whole and soul. A very good friend of mine, Sanjay Sarkar, who led that entire effort. Again, extremely liberating experience. And at that point in time, we could actually understood the rules, but also broke them for the right TG. So as you know, a lot of internet was created by universities, by military, and the design standards were also kind of focused towards that. However, when we had to design it, we had to design it for really young Indians, probably 14, 15 onwards. So we realized that yes, while we have to worry about the usability aspect of it, you can't really make it boring.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of interesting work which was done by me and my team, which I still am extremely proud of, when it came down to what is the right balance between visual experience and functionality. What should be the right way when you want to give a emotional high? How do you do it? How do you use interactivity to sometimes use cheating as a legitimate way of creating interest?
Really?
So on and so forth.
So give me an example of that. You said, how do you use cheating?
Cheating, yes. So it's not dark UX, let me first say that. But let's say we had to create a April Fool's campaign, and the campaign was about, if you do so and so, submit your answer, you will get awards of some kind of pass for a music concert. But we didn't put any submit button below it.
Oh, that, okay. So that's a kind of dark UX, but more benign.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I mean, you can call it dark, but it was not dark because it was known to be an April Fool's.
Sure. It was harmless.
Yeah. Those were some of the things we did, and then that is when we heard this term called user experience. The word user experience had arrived by then.
Earlier, what year was this?
This would be around 2000. Earlier, it was all internet design, interactive design, interaction design.
Internet design was a word, huh?
Interaction design.
Interaction design, I've heard. Internet design, I haven't heard.
Yeah. So that was like apna sasta sundar tikau desi word
internet
for
design.
Internet design. So that's how we progressed, and that is when we also got exposed to this entire war between Jacob Nielsen and Joshua Davis.
What was the war for those of us who are not familiar with that?
So Jacob Nielsen was the first one who kind of stood against the overt baroque of interactive design, overt visual experience, inconsistency. He really stood for it.
So he was asking for form to follow function, kind of like what Bauhaus did to Baroque.
I would not necessarily put it that way, because I felt that in that entire Jacob Nielsen school of thought, while there is form follows function, but there was a certain unidimensionality to what is the function.
Okay.
Of course, things evolved from there, but at that point in time, he stood for that. And then there was Joshua Davis, who was doing some amazing immersive interactive work for that time. And as you know,
function versus being funky, if I can put it that way.
I would say
were the two kind of ends of that
versus
debate.
Immersion and payout.
Immersion and payout.
Payout, the emotional payout you get out of that experience.
But being functional also has a payout.
Of course. I mean, that's the middle ground today most of us walk. But at that point in time,
there were just two schools of thought.
Two schools of thought.
Wow.
And I think the person who really brought that middle path, according to me, was the emotional design aspect.
Don Norman?
Don Norman, obviously. When he described the design, the way he was describing design was actually, I thought, was more universal perspective. It was not overt functionality, but also brought in certain
so kind of like a happy medium between those
Absolutely, absolutely. So earlier Jacob Nielsen I thought was too functional, while somebody like Joshua Davis was, I would say, a lot of work what he did at that point in time. If he would have done it today, nobody would have even bat an eyelid. So this is an interesting example. I was part of one design discussion at one point in time, and there was this entire discussion at that point in time about functionality and emotional payout. There was this filmmaker who spoke that yes, when the earlier films were made, when people saw train coming towards them, they thought the screen is going to hit them, and they used to run away. Okay. So what he was trying to say is that I think users also need to be ready. So
that's interesting.
So that was an interesting point, and I think today where we are after 20 years, I think audiences have evolved, designers have evolved, and also the overall business community has also evolved in understanding what really user experience can do for the business.
So Channel V was an interesting episode and venture for you. Then you heard of the term user experience, and then you joined
Human Factors
Factors. That's where we met.
Absolutely.
And your core focus there was what?
I essentially started with visual design as a core principle, but then I also got at that point in time very good opportunity to work with user research. Apala was leading that entire function called contextual innovation, which was, I would say, a life-changing experience for me, because that is when I realized the value of design. So in my earlier career, I always thought that the design was getting dictated by business, but a lot of times intuitively you felt that something is not right, though we didn't have a vocabulary or the process to kind of really understand and articulate what we seem to be feeling uncomfortable about. But when we started doing user research, when we started talking to people, when we started understanding what are the real life problems they are facing, and also the overall design thinking process, that is when we realized, or at least I realized, that there is something bigger at play over here.
You know what's interesting is whenever I had a chance to work with you as a visual designer on one of the projects that I was part of, I always felt that you were a very angry designer.
I still am.
And I'll tell you why I felt that. Because I felt that at your deepest core, you're an activist, right? Who was not happy with the way things were. Like, I always felt that you were not happy with the way the design was or what you were being asked to do, and you were pushing back, but you were reluctantly kind of doing it. And I kind of get when you talked about how when you finally got the chance to actually do contextual innovation, connect real user needs to what you were doing, you felt that, wow, that was a life-changing moment for you. And till that point, you were like, business is just telling me to do this. I don't want to really do it. So is that an accurate read of?
It's not really I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do something which I don't resonate with.
I always got that vibe, actually.
But I must also say that I also work with so many great people, including you, Hemal, and a lot of business people who took effort to make me understand where they were coming in from. So I would not say that it was all black and white that way, because I also learned a lot. I also got enriched quite a lot from those conflicts.
Sure, but let me ask you this question another way. Do you think it's important for designers to be angry?
Angry? Absolutely, because we are here to change the world. I absolutely believe in that.
That's really well said.
But also at the same time, what needs to be complemented with anger is ability to go beyond silos. And if I can take this chance, go beyond silos, because if you want to retain in your expertise and don't want to look sideways, it's going to be tough for you.
Wow, okay. So you're saying a broader view is what empowers that anger into manifesting into something meaningful. Otherwise...
Yeah, I mean, I get the effort of making me position me as Amitabh Bachchan, but how I would say is that I think somewhere around that path, I stumbled upon T-shaped thinking. And I think by nature, designers are T-shaped thinkers.
I want to talk about T-shaped thinking in a bit, but let's complete the history lesson. So you were at Human Factors, and that was for how long?
Well, I think almost 6 years.
6 years.
And what the entire user research aspect got me thinking was that, hey, this is the right tool for me to influence business. And no wonder my next jump was actually on a business side. I moved to Idea Cellular to head their digital marketing.
So from visual design to marketing?
Visual design to user research and marketing is how I would put it.
So the jump to formal marketing, was that a very big jump for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I came in, the Pradeep Srivastava, the CMO of Idea Cellular at that point in time, asked me, what are your strengths? And I think he has been a great mentor and also very smart guy. He asked me what my 2 strengths were, and I couldn't really articulate at that point in time what my 2 strengths were. But he was a great mentor in introducing me to the overall business thinking aspect of it, and also introduced me to the overall strategy of marketing and business.
Right.
So even though I came in to kind of change the overall digital aspect of Idea Cellular, not just the marketing or traditional marketing advertising aspect, but all 360 degrees, starting from customer experience to actually the business aspect, the collection aspect, and the customer satisfaction aspect. He actually...
so you got a pretty broad view.
Yeah, he kind of created opportunities for all of us to kind of work together and understand different cross-functional point of view.
And post idea?
Post idea, I work for Saatchi & Saatchi Law & Kenneth. I work there as a strategy head and also new business
So that
head.
was hardcore advertising?
Hardcore advertising, I would say digital.
Digital.
What I also felt was what I did probably by then 10 years back with HFI, the kind of work which we used to do had also kind of evolved. We used to focus earlier on websites and application. By then social media had come in. Digital really opened up marketing at that point in time. And that is when marketing saw the opportunity. So the earlier part was obviously through the advertising route which came into digital. But also it brought in a lot of under the water elements into the play. So it could be something like reputation management. People actually experience brand. Like telecom at that point in time, 3 dominant players, overall 6 players, lot of competition, one of the top sectors in India at that point in time. People did not make impressions about the brand purely on advertising. Internet was getting penetrated in India at that point in time. So most of the urban audience, or at least the affluent audience, was already on internet.
So post Saatchi & Saatchi,
I work for a ad network, mobile ad network, and we created a lot of interactive mobile-based experiences for brands like Unilever, P&G across Southeast Asia. I had exposure to US audience, but this also gave me a lot of exposure to Southeast Asian audiences. So I would say India was already kind of a forefront of what was happening on digital. US was already up ahead. India was quickly catching up. There were countries like Indonesia which are closely following India, and then there are a lot of other countries which are slightly behind the curve. So it was also interesting to kind of understand how the media is evolving, how digital is evolving. Then from there I moved to a startup where I helped them set up their entire product experience, brand definition, and more importantly investor communication as well. So these are the aspects I did, and the amalgamation of all this made me to believe that there is actually a vacuum in current market which can be bridged by bringing in user experience, design thinking, product thinking, and also business aspect of things.
And that's what August Company ultimately
Absolutely.
wanted to play at
Absolutely.
that intersection, which is really a reflection of the entire plethora of experience you've had
my
over the
personal
years.
journey,
You've
yes.
almost touched upon every aspect of digital and marketing that every organization usually deals with. So it's the whole 9 yards. What is there one thing that you enjoy more than others in all of this? Various aspects of...
I think ultimately you have to look at design as a problem-solving process, and bigger the challenge, bigger the fun. You are solving a business problem through a logo design, you are solving a business problem by making sure that there is a capital infusion, so you tell the right aspect of business to the investor. There is a challenge in employer branding. Today, honestly, if you look at the market, it is not the capital which is an issue, it's the talent which is the issue. So the various aspects of branding itself, apart from creation of the core product.
So you love the problem?
Absolutely. A lot of my jobs, my next job didn't have any connection with my first job. So a lot of times people come in and ask me, what is it that you really do? So the famous joke goes around that my parents don't know what I do.
Mine
A lot of times my contemporaries also don't know what I do.
I'm learning today. So tell me about August Company.
My observation in last 20 years was marketing has changed. At some point in time, probably in our journey as user experience designers, we had fought with business or marketing because they were not coming up the curve. I have personally faced marketing people who would say that website pe first, mera ad chala do. So the things have evolved from there. Today, marketing and business absolutely understands the value. Steve Jobs himself has done a lot of great job in making people understand the value of design. So it is not uncommon today to see a chief design officer even in a startup. So things have evolved and people understand the value. For good or bad, today everybody says design thinking. I kind of personally feel bad that designers have let go of entire design thinking, and there's a completely different cohort which is now championing design thinking.
I mean,
so coming back to your question, the secret battle is obviously bring design thinking back to designers, but of course we will not be able to achieve that by ourselves.
If your father asked you today, what does August Company do? What do you say to him?
I tell him that I confirm his earlier thought that after doing my design graduation, I'm going to do billboard painting. So that's what I do. But my father is very candid these days and says that I really don't understand what you do.
Okay, so you've given up on your hope of explaining to him. But what is interesting for me is August Company works at this intersection of marketing, user experience design, branding, which I have seen, going from 3 disciplines, working in silos, never talking to each other, and never needing to talk to each other, to now coming to a point where you don't know where one stops and the other begins.
Absolutely.
Right? As somebody who runs a independent UX design focused design studio, I know that there are times when I cannot separate myself from what I deliver from its marketing and branding aspects. I just can't. And if I try to pretend to be away from those, then it'll be just a pretense, because those things will touch each other anyway.
Absolutely.
So since you've taken on this intersection by the neck, I mean, it's been what, 2 years now since
3 years.
3 years since August Company. You're kind of riding this change. See traditional marketing going from product centricity to user centricity. So tell me a little bit about your experience of the present and your view on the future.
Probably 15 years back, we framed marketing or business as #1 enemy.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did that, right?
Yeah.
Today, I think the world has been won over by techies.
By techies.
In my experience, I think business sees the value in user experience. Business sees value in user-centered design.
Yeah.
And a lot of that change has also come in because a lot of tech visionaries have also at heart been designers.
Why do you say that?
The first design officer came in a tech company. It did not come in
Oh yeah.
any other sector.
You mean John Ive?
Absolutely.
Actually, yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Was he the first ever chief design officer?
At least the
ever?
most celebrated one. And while we can always argue what Apple did was right or wrong, or what Jonathan, I mean, there is an entire barrage of people who love them, and there's an entire barrage of people who have.
So you're
problems
saying
with
this
them.
convergence is thanks to tech? It's thanks to the tech sector?
It's been a leading force.
FMCG would not have led to this convergence.
I would say that they have been one of the driving forces. It kind of has liberated so many aspects, from payments, what we do with our panwala, to what we do with our insurance planning. I mean, it has just changed things so fast for us. I mean, it's not just for our parents' generation, but even for our generation now, things are moving really fast. So what I wanted to say is that in my journey, I have always felt that best of the business people are intuitively great UX designers, and great UX designers are intuitively very good business people. And I have seen a lot of people around me. A great UX designer within an organization has moved up to be a product head. So I was earlier talking about silos. I think there are a lot of opportunities available today for designers to move beyond those silos.
So in companies today, who owns experience?
I think it has become like brand. There is not a single person who owns an experience.
So no one owns brand?
Really no one. It's everybody's responsibility to deliver on a brand. So while you will have traditional brand managers who will figure out, who will use research, who will figure out how to connect with the audience.
But when you work with clients, who funds your project?
It comes all the way from top.
So, but who? Marketing?
So when we work, we have always seen this working with a cross-functional team where...
it's cross-functional.
It's always cross-functional team.
But it's not that the sponsor is usually marketing, or your core sponsor is CMO.
We really don't know at some point in time whose pocket the money is coming from.
Yeah. But in a lot of companies, and a lot of the interactions I've had, marketing seems to own experience. Should marketing own experience in companies?
There's no doubt about it.
But I mean, a lot of the conversations I have with is usually the marketing department sponsoring UX projects, but there is always this struggle, because I don't know if they truly are the ambassadors for experience. Isn't their job to get users to the door? and then the
Okay.
experience actually starts afterwards, which they don't really own.
I have personally seen marketing shifting quite a lot. So when it comes to marketing, there is always this confusion and overlap between sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Initially, it used to be kind of an interchangeable word. What you see today is even within marketing ecosystem, there are clear-cut verticals, own a certain aspect of it.
Okay.
So probably 10 years back, if you go, there were no product teams. Now product teams essentially own the ball.
You know what's interesting? Let's say you take an example of a bank, right? So what I've seen in a bank is their pre-login experience is owned by marketing because that's to acquire new customers. Post-login experience, which is for existing customers, is owned by sometimes it's a vertical called digital, or sometimes it's owned by separate product or business teams.
Absolutely.
And I have seen this kind of organization or the way experiences sliced and diced.
Yeah.
And it's actually siloed.
Yeah.
That's why you will often see that the experience that a potential customer is getting from a bank or what they see on a, let's say, ICICIbank.com versus what they see once they log in are completely different. Even the experience they see on the mobile versus on the web versus in an ATM are completely different. And marketing is playing a role, product teams are playing a role, business teams are playing a role, digital is playing a role. But like you said, experiences become like brand. No one owns it, but everyone owns it.
Yes.
But isn't that leading to chaos?
Interesting question. I would counter ask this question saying, what is chaos?
Okay. I think we'll need a more existential conversation.
No, not that way. See, when we say chaos, what is measure of success of business? Ultimately, user experience needs to aid business.
Yes.
I mean, our classic understanding, which both of us agree on, is intersection between user needs and business needs is a great UX. So I think there are certain organizations who keep user experience as a paramount because it is absolutely crucial for their business. And some organizations, so there are varying organizations.
So you're saying, so what is your tolerance of chaos right now?
Not really tolerance. And I think it comes down to which market landscape you're operating on.
Correct.
So if you're an innovator, if you're doing something new, there are certain things which are sacrosanct. You cannot do it without it. But if you talk to probably organizations which currently are leaders, there is always a reluctance to change, reluctance to do things differently.
Yes.
So I would say it that way. When you say chaos, of course, there is a certain, sometimes superficial, sometimes really a deep chaos. But if it is not hurting business, or if it is hurting business,
at least it's not hurting them yet.
Or they are not ready to look at it, then there is always somebody else. If there is really a chaos and if there is really a vacuum, there are 5 other people who are just waiting there to fill up the vacuum. Businesses are not there to go out of business. So if something which is not working for them, they are agile enough to not do it.
I'm going to push you to name some brands because I want to know concretely from your perspective, brands, companies, organizations that you think are operating really well at this intersection today.
So I'll talk about something a brand which I really admired when it landed on the scene. It offered a great ease. It was a game changer. It came in and really offered a new model. And that model was not very difficult to understand because the user experience of it, the app of this particular product was very easy to understand.
Okay.
It was really just like a wow, if I can use that meme. Yeah, it was just like a wow. Where is that business getting cheated today? It's not getting cheated
Which
because
business? I can't stand the suspense.
I think it's kind of obvious when I say the next part is that business is not getting cheated today because of the user experience. That business is getting cheated today out of bad customer experience coming in with what is happening with its supply chain.
Is it Byju's? I don't know. Who are you talking about?
So you use it every day from go to one place to the other. And
Uber.
What has changed really for any of the transportation band today? What has really changed is that...
So it's Uber, right? It's Uber. Okay.
So what has really changed it? The user experience is absolutely pathetic over there. And the point over here is, what do you today define user experience? If we define user experience only with user interface.
No, it's everything.
It's everything, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about entire user
So
experience
no matter
today,
how great the app is, if the driver keeps declining on me, doesn't matter.
it's
Right?
bad user experience, right? So that's when I say that there is really no single owner of user experience. Today everybody has to deliver
I
user
get
experience.
I get it.
I'll talk about Amazon if you really want to name.
Yes.
Today I think they deliver a great user experience starting from the time they talked about free returns of the product. What a great user experience oriented feature. Single feature which according to me
Wow, changed the whole landscape.
changed the whole landscape.
It's interesting, Mahesh, that your view of looking at user experience is so much more holistic. I mean, your example of Uber, for example, is a case in point of how everyone's owns experience, from the driver all the way down to the user experience designer working.
It's not just tech anymore which
why
delivers that.
Then Amazon succeeds, because even though you might say that their actual digital landscape may not be so great, but if you really connect the dots from when you open that app or site to when you get your product or even when you return it, everything just works.
Absolutely. And I'll just add one more thing which we have observed in August. You talked about me always being angry and
Yeah.
activist. There was one thing I always had anger against was the fact that even so-called design rules are so connected to a certain geography. What you think is good might not work for a different culture.
What is that one rule?
I would say that
That
a lot of
global
people,
design rule.
you spoke about Amazon and you
Yeah.
said that probably on the front face it's not
Looks
so
very
great.
cluttered and
Yeah, but I would say that are we really a country which
cares about that, or is
I mean, we are a visually
landscape.
cluttered landscape. Are we really not okay with clutter? We are. In fact, I have seen a lot of times that users get uncomfortable when things are overtly neat.
So you're saying clutter is good?
No,
In
I think
India.
you need to listen to your audience. You need to really listen to your audience. And that is where I think we trap ourselves by creating, let me just be very honest, I think this is where the designers start creating biases. That this is the right thing to do. Which is not bad, everybody has the bias, but that's what the user experience or design thinking enables us to do. Go beyond it. There have been times where we have created a brand name. We could have chosen a brand name which worked with the stakeholders, but when we actually did perception test or user testing with multiple geographies, it came down very clearly that a certain name was working with the actual market where the business was going to be done, and a certain name was popular in a certain geography, but it was not the focus of business. So that's how you can clearly display the value of design. It's not necessarily based on biases, and that's where it becomes an issue. And that biases can come in from designers, it can come in from product owners, it can come in from anyone.
What I'm hearing, Mahesh, in this conversation is I think the angry designer has become the more at peace designer, if I can say that.
I always think of myself as Gandalf,
Yeah, I see that whole Gandalf, the wise, appearing after this 20-year journey of finding yourself as a designer, first seeing business as the villain to now seeing it as a friend.
Yeah, there is no villain
There
actually.
is no villain here.
I would say that I was more bound by my own limitations to understand and make meaning of things.
Yeah, I mean, I see you more at like calm with the problem at hand.
That's probably because you mixed something in the coffee, I don't know.
Yeah, we did. But no, that's awesome. And I guess there is a positive kind of tension now.
Always.
Than, feeling that somehow design is not getting to say what it wants to say, not getting the pedestal it needs, not having the empowerment that it needs. It's so much more I want to talk to you about, Mahesh. I mean, I think there are so many topics I want to touch upon. But if there's one advice you would give to brand today as they navigate this kind of landscape of experiences, from your opinion of where marketing is, what's your recipe? What's that one hack for success you would give them?
I don't know, I kind of always see myself going back to that Venn diagram of user needs, overlapping business needs. I think that is really the key.
Yeah.
I think if you can achieve that, everything else is really subjective.
And both those circles are the same size.
Absolutely. I think it's the overlap which matters and how big that overlap is.
Yeah. Thanks, Mahesh, for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Saurabh, for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure. Always wonderful experience coming back to this lovely office and lovely experience which you have created over here.
Thanks, man. Until we meet again, because I have lots more to talk to you.
Always welcome. Thank you.